Henry VIII was born on June 28, 1491, in royal residence Greenwich Palace. Henry took the throne of England in 1509, making him only 17 years old as a king. In one of Henry's first royal acts, he had his father's tax collectors executed. Henry Tudor was the son of Henry VII of England and Elizabeth York. Also, at the start of his reign, the British Navy only had 3 ships, but by the time he died, they had nearly 50. After his brother died, he became Henry VIII. As a child, he had 6 siblings, but only 3 survived: Margaret, Arthur, and Mary. Even as an infant, Henry had offices and titles put upon him. When Henry was only 8 years old, his brother Arthur, Henry escorted Catherine to the cathedral. This was an important role as a toddler. 4 months later, his brother Arthur died, which changed his fortunes by taking all his brother's titles. His father's fears of losing his last heir led to serious supervision and restrictions. Henry's first marriage was Catherine of Aragon. This was Arthur's wife. Since Arthur died while wed to Catherine of Aragon, a papal dispensation was obtained to enable her to marry Henry. This first marriage lasted 24 years, more than all the others combined. They had a daughter named Mary. Later on, Catherine died while detained under guard at Kimbolton Castle and had an affair with Anne. Anne Boleyn was his second wife and mother of Elizabeth I. Henry and Anne had a secret wedding service and then became pregnant. After she was pregnant, she had a public wedding service which took place in London. Henry had Anne executed for charges of adultery and incest. Henry's third wife was Jane Seymour. She was the daughter of a knight. They were happily married, but she died days after giving birth. Henry's fourth wife was Anne of Cleves for only 6 months. She had a pre-contract of marriage, and it was cited of annulment. Henry's fifth wife was Catherine Howard, known as the Rose Without a Thorn. Henry was informed of her adultery and was beheaded. Henry's last and final wife was Catherine Parr. She was the most married queen of England. She was widowed after Henry died at age 55. 7 years after Henry took the throne in England, his father Henry VII died, and he was crowned the King of England. Henry's favorite pastimes were hunting, dancing, and waging wars. He was excommunicated from the church by the Pope, but with the help of Thomas, he became the head of Church of England. Henry's religious beliefs were Catholic, but his main belief was that God had created society and that it should not be changed or challenged. He believed that women were inferior to men and that if they were born into poverty, then that was the way God intended it to be. He expected that his wives honor and obey him. The women should not divorce or talk back. They have to respect him as a matter of duty. King Henry VIII died on January 28, 1547. He was 56 years old when he died. They think he might have died because of health issues or an illness. During his life, he had smallpox, malaria, high blood pressure, and he injured his leg, which later became ulcerated. Later on, both of his legs were affected by ulcers. Another thought to his death might have been diabetes because he was rather large. His will dictated that Edward succeed on his death, and if he died, then Mary would take place. Henry was buried in St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle next to the rest of some of his family.